Hello, lovelies. Okay, so we are talking discovery to decision today. How you can convert 9 out of 10 sales calls by really magnetizing those, like, yes, I am bloody ready clients with complete confidence, conviction, and that level of personalization so that you can close the sale. Okay. So whether we call them discovery calls, explore calls, connection calls, I've never seen anyone do discovery calls like I do, where we really like create that space for the lead, for the potential client to feel so seen, like comfortable and ready to work before you even get to the point of you starting the conversation about the offer. Okay. I have a really high rate of converting discovery calls, and it really is because of this strategy that I'm going to share with you here. Now, I've kept refining it over the last 2 years, especially the last 2 years. And my rate has gone from around 40 to 50% to 85 to 90%. So you can imagine converting that many of your calls and what that looked like for your business when you're able to do that. So let's do it. Are you ready? Excellent. Okay. I just want to start by really reminding you of this part of you being a CEO authority business woman. Your time is bloody valuable. Okay. You want to be converting with power and intention and knowing that conversion is going to happen and not just be jumping on calls with people so that you have a call so that you might be able to convince them or persuade them. When you are in your power, when you are in your authority, you know that your time is valuable. And we're going to stop that just like jumping on a call because of using this strategy. So basically, my explore call strategy, I call them explore calls. I'll refer to them as different things throughout this. So my explore call strategy is basically a 6-part structure. And this is what's behind all highly converting, high authority conversations. Okay. So it starts with connection first, obviously. Like, it's about building trust and rapport with that client, potential client, before you're even on the call. So, like in the DMs, but also at the start of every call. Okay. So that's the first thing we're going to dive into. The second thing is pre-qualify. You're pre-qualifying them, but with a really clear purpose and intention. So this is really important to not just like, we don't just want to have you jumping on a call with anyone. Okay. You want to know that if you have a call booked in, that you want to know if they're ready. You want to know that they know what the investment is. Because you've pre-qualified that lead. Because there is absolutely nothing worse than getting on a call and then realizing quite quickly that this person is not the dream client, or this person is not a fit for your program, your offer, or you, you working with this person. So that's really important. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, and then it's all about leading the conversation. Okay, so this is like this part, number 3, 4, and 5, is all about the actual call, but you're not just, like I said, jumping on a call, you're leading that call. Number 4 is like asking the questions that count. Okay, so while you're on the call, but also in the DMs before you jump on it, the questions that you ask really allow you to see, they reveal to you the clarity, the confidence, and the commitment that that potential client feels. And that allows you to see whether they are likely to say yes and they're the right fit. So asking questions that count is really important. Also, the confident close. Okay, this is the part that too many people forget about and where there's like so much money left on the table. So we're going to dig into that. And then finally, but very, very important, is the power proposal. Okay, this is how you follow up after the call. Again, there are a lot of people who don't do this. So the power proposal is how you follow up after the call with your offer, really positioned with complete precision, clarity, and conviction to reflect your leadership level, but also to like add another touch point in for you to connect and communicate with your dream client. Okay, so we're going to dig into each of these now. Let's. Okay, so firstly, connection first. It's all about building rapport. Okay, so you want to make sure you are asking the right questions. You want to really understand their objections early. Okay, and you also want to understand if they've invested before. Because if someone has invested before, you know they're a really good lead. Because if they've invested before, that means they see the value in investing in themselves. Whereas if someone has never invested in themselves and they're like nervous and they're not sure and they've got a ton of objections, that can like give you a really good indication of how you need to hold yourself on that call and the types of questions that you're going to be asking. So, by knowing if they've invested before is more important than you actually think it is. Okay, so we want to be making sure that we are connecting and building rapport while they're in the DMs, firstly, because most of my calls come through the DMs first. Very few just book in, but this rapport is so important. Okay. Now, if there are people that have booked in directly, like after a masterclass or through the link in bio, which I now have removed a link in bio for people to be able to just book a call in with me directly because I want them in the DMs first so that I can do this. Okay. I always will send them a voice note to catch up with them, to introduce myself before the call and to start instigating this connection before we get on the call. Okay, because by the time I get on that call, I want to make sure that I am as connected with this person as possible if they still need the call. Okay, because we're going to come on to that's a different training about converting in the DMs. So you want to build rapport, you want to really make sure you're asking the questions that make them feel seen. You want to find out any objections early. You want to know if they've invested before. You want to be able to match their energy, okay, while leading the call or in the DMs. So that being said, if they're in like struggler mode, you don't want to match that struggler mode energy, but you want to, this is one of the principles, isn't it, about coaching and even counseling. It's about mirroring that person's energy back because that builds more rapport. And similarly, we want to let them feel completely safe and trusted, seen and heard, not sold to. So that is why there is a way we go through. When I get onto the call part, I will explain to you the types of questions that you can ask so that we can get them feeling safe and in a trusted space and connected and not sold to, even though this is a sales call. Okay, so what we then want to be doing is pre-qualifying them with a clear purpose. Okay, so this is my booking form that I have. So this is linked to my system for booking an explore call. Okay, so if we're chatting in the DMs and they want to book a call, I will send them the link, which takes them here to fill their details in. If they have come through like at the end of a masterclass or something, this is the place they go before they like choose their date and time. Okay, and this is so important. So if you're using Calendly or Wix, they will have a form like this. So on this form, I have questions that to make sure that I can pre-qualify that lead. So the obvious questions, I've got their name, I've got their email, I've got their IG handle. Now, this is really important because their IG handle really allows you, like I just said, to start building that rapport before the call happens. if they've come straight through your form. Okay. It also, even if you have connected with them and you've been chatting in the DMs, this can tell you a lot about where somebody is and where they're currently at just by looking at their Instagram page. Okay. Depending on your niche, but even if you are in a niche and it's a personal account you're looking at, you can still get quite a good idea of the person. Okay. It also means you've got a really clear way of being able to follow up with them after the call. Like sometimes the emails go to junk and clutter. So we want another way to get in touch with them. So by putting their Instagram handle on here, there's a very clear intention and purpose. Okay. And then, like I said, if they are a no, like after the call, it means you can continue to build that connection over on Instagram, like over time. And they might come back to you when they're ready, which has happened several times to me. Okay. So I then make sure I have got a question which is tell me in a few sentences what's going on for you right now, where you're at with your business, what you're struggling with. There's a typo there. What you're struggling with. Okay, so this is again, so I can get a bit more of an understanding about them. And then I have this like more lengthy question. So Coaching with Paula is a high quality, lasting investment designed for women ready to grow, lead and scale with support that matches their ambition and is designed to create powerful results and long-term growth. I've put in the price range depending on the level of mentorship and level of commitment, which best describes where you're currently at right now. And then I have 4 options. Okay. Yes, I have the resources available to invest. Brilliant. Yes, I can access the resources I need to invest. So they might not like have all the money there, but they have a way of getting it. I'd love to hear more about flexible payment options, or I'm not currently in a position to invest. And then when they've ticked all of this, they can go on to book their call slot. Okay. So if somebody clicks this last button, I'm not in a position to invest, I won't get on a call with them. And I won't feel guilty for that. And I will say something. I'll send them a message on Instagram. If I haven't got their Instagram and they've booked it straight, I'd send it via email. But I'd say something like, unfortunately, because you're not able to invest at the moment, having a call right now isn't a great time. What I'd recommend is checking out my Instagram for like my free resources. If you have a podcast, you could say like what I'd recommend is checking out my Instagram for my free resources and tuning into my podcast. Okay. Don't feel bad about it, because before I used to pre-qualify like this on my form. So I used to have the first part of the form, but I didn't used to have this part. Okay. So before I had people booking calls who couldn't invest at all. And as a business owner, like your time, it goes back to that first slide. Your time is valuable. So it was a complete waste of my time. Like it's not a great fit. So this is really, really important. This pre-qualification, you almost see it as like a triage point for right ruling out the people who are not going to invest in you. They're not just here for a chat. Okay. I actually love explore calls because it's such a great way to connect with people. And you want to make sure that you are only giving that time and energy to the people who see the value in investing in themselves and investing in you. Okay. So that's the second stage. Now we get on to the actual call. Okay. Now, this is what it looks like for me. And like I've said, we're up to an 85 to 90% conversion rate using this strategy. Okay, so to start with, I really set the expectations. And I'll say something like, so this is an informal chat for me to really get to know you, for you to get to know me. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my program, product, offer. And then you can go away and you can make a decision to see if this is a good fit for you. How does that sound? So You laying out those expectations at the beginning is really, really important. And that final question that I say to them, how does that sound, is also really important because what they say back to you is like, great, okay, yeah, this sounds brilliant. And then you will go, so you ready to kick off the call? They're going to say yes. Now, that's all really strategic and important because the psychology behind this is if they're saying, yes, great, I'm excited for this, I'm ready, yes, 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 they're more likely to say yes to you at the end because you've made them feel really good. Okay, so setting these expectations at the very beginning of the call really allows you to create that authority for the call too, shows that you are leading, you are in charge of this call. Now, I've had some times where I've stayed on an explore call for like an hour, but that is not the way to lead from the offset. You are setting the wrong expectation. I was setting the wrong expectation because by doing that, you end up overgiving, over delivering, and likely turning it into some kind of coaching session for all of you that are coaches, okay? Or giving your expertise away for free. No, we want to be setting that expectation and that psychology early that I am going to be leading this call. I'm going to be asking you some questions and then I'm going to be sharing my offer because this is a sales call. Okay. This isn't just a chat and free coaching or free advice, whatever like your service is. This is a sales call and they have signed up because they are interested in working with you. So you need to now lead the conversation in this way. Then I would say something like, so I've read your form. Tell me why you've booked on the call today. Tell me why you're here. Tell me why you want to work on this, whatever they said. Okay. And then you ask them, so where do you want to get to? What does that look like for you? How would that change your life? Okay, you're really getting them to talk about the solution that they want and tapping into that buyer psychology again. All right. And then I would even say something like, so let's say you join the mastermind, we work together one to one, you complete this course, and it's the best thing that you've ever done, and you're like the happiest you've ever been. What does that look like for you? What does success look like for you? Okay, so again, you're really getting them to envisage what it could look like. Okay, you're not a sales call, you're not going in with your offer in the first 15 to 20 minutes call. Okay, so then you want to be repeating this back to them. And I do this to ensure that I have understood their challenges really well, like in their words, and also their wants and their desires, but also that so that they feel fully seen and heard. There's part of that connection and that rapport again. Okay. So you might say something like, okay, so you've told me you're feeling really blocked by this. This is a real struggle for you, and this is where you're falling down, or this is where the gap is. Okay. You really want to get to this. Every time I'm saying this, I mean what they've described to you. You really want to get to this, but right now you can't see past it. Is that correct? Okay. Then again, they're saying yes, yes, yes. Or if they say no, because you've like not quite explained it correctly or you've missed something out, that's okay. Because what that then allows me to do is I can like shift my approach. Okay. Because remember, you're going to be writing a proposal to send to them at the end of this call. So if you send a wrong proposal with like inaccurate details, it's not good and it's unlikely to then close the sale. So you need to make sure that you are hitting the nail on the head with how you say it back to them, or if you're getting this correct, so that you can present it in that proposal really clearly. So these questions and you reflecting this back are really key. Okay. So you can say, like, can I make sure I've understood this correctly? You're struggling with XYZ. Have you ever tried this? Yes or no? Like it didn't work. Okay. I have a really good understanding. And I feel like with my experience, you are blocked in XYZ. this is a challenge for you, and this is an area you need to look at or you need to work on. So, what I am doing is I am starting to give them an early indication of how I would start solving their problem. Okay. So, if on the call they're coming to me and they're saying something like, in a different niche, I'm looking to get a huge promotion in the next 6 months. But right now, I'm struggling with the confidence to go for it. I don't know how I'm even going to go about it, but I really know that I'm capable. Okay. I would then say back in this, like section 6, I would say back, okay, so if I was your coach, if I were working with you, this is what I'd do. And then I would say what I'd do. So it might just be something like I'd start by identifying your limiting beliefs. I'd want to work with you on transforming them on a deep cellular level. We want to be diving into your subconscious and clearing some of this stuff, which is what's blocking you right now, so that you feel really confident going for this. And you might feel more confident than ever and choose to go even bigger. We might even put in some practices along the way so that you XYZ. So I'm really giving them an early indication of how I work and how I'd solve their problem. Okay. And I would base all of that on what they have told me in steps 1 to 5. And then I would make sure I close really strong, because this part of the call can become so unbelievably awkward because you're waiting for them to say, I'm in, sign me up. Okay. But you want to take that awkwardness away, because remember, you are leading this conversation. Okay. So I'd say something at the end like, thank you so much. I think I've got everything I need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw up a proposal for you of what 3 and 6 months would look like working with me. That's what I'd say if it was like 1 to 1 or something bespoke. If it's a program, a group, a mastermind, I'd say something like the same, like, okay, I think I've got everything that you need. What I'm going to do is I am going to send you over all the information about whatever the offer is. And you might want to personalize that depending on the offer and like what you then say. Then I would say, do you have any other questions for me? Do you have any hesitations at the moment? So again, you're leading this question and you're trying to get out of them some of those objections they might have. They might say at this time, like, no, I've got no questions. I know I'm in. Brilliant. You're still going to send them the proposal though. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a second. So when you ask them about their hesitations, they may say the obvious, like, I'm a bit worried I won't have time to do this. I'm a bit worried about the money or XYZ. Okay. And then you again have a chance then to acknowledge this, like in a really relatable way. Like, okay, cool, that's completely understandable. And then you can personalize this and like handle the objection with something like, you're not alone in this. So many people feel like this. I felt like this when I first invented. But remember, although it's a cliche, like nothing changes if nothing changes. And the scariest thing is you still being in this position in 6 months' time. So then I'd like really reflect that solution back to them. Like, you want to get that promotion now, and you want to get that promotion now because your confidence has like skyrocketed and continues to skyrocket and go higher and higher and higher because you're doing the job that you wanted like a badass. It doesn't feel scary. It does feel scary. But the women in my world are choosing courage over fear, and that's why they're getting amazing results. So let me send you this proposal, see how you feel about it, and we can always jump on another call if you need to. So do you see what I'm doing there? I'm maintaining the authority that I've done this so many times before with so many other women, just like this client, and it's reassuring them that I'm a safe pair of hands. Okay. I'm not suddenly going to go into a spiral and wobble and think, oh my God, she's not going to sign up. And then say to her something like, oh, I know it's really scary, isn't it? Like, I can completely understand how you feel. I'm just like leaving it there. You're leading them through this process. And, if at the end they say, you know, as we've talked about it, like, I really don't think I have the time or the money or whatever it might be. You keep leading with authority and you say, I hear you. That is completely okay. When it is the right time, I'm not going anywhere. Just get in touch because I would love to support you with this. Okay, so there's no desperation energy. There's no like trying to convince them at the end. You're still like leading that conversation. And then when you're about to close the call, ask this important question. It's, okay, so I'm going to send you this proposal or I'm going to send you the details. Then how would you like me to follow up with you after that? Because this, again, really sets that clear expectation of, I am going to be following up with you. So I've just given you half an hour of my time, my precious time. I've created a proposal for you. So you're not going to give them an opportunity to ghost you. Okay. Because again, this is a business transaction. You've invested your time and energy into this. So they now know you're going to be following up with them. So they might say something like, oh, can you message me on Friday by email? Or can you give me the weekend and reach out on Monday if you haven't heard from me before that? That's absolutely fine. But you've got clarification from them of when and how to follow up with them. And they're going to be expecting it. Okay. Then you close the call and you start working on the proposal. Do this within the first like couple of hours. You want to be sending this within a couple of hours of speaking to them. So the proposal. So this is a template of what a proposal may look like. Okay. Now it could look different depending on what you're doing. This is a one-to-one business proposal for 6 months one-to-one that I actually sent out a few months ago. Okay. So it is one that I've used, but I've taken out some of the more personal things from this. So what you are doing here is you are creating a no-brainer proposal. So as they receive this and they're reading through this, they are feeling like so excited about like, shit, I really want to do this. I want to learn this. I want all these things that Paula's talking about. And it's really taken them on a journey. So, like, month one, in our first month together, we're going to get crystal clear on your vision for your business. Where do you see it going long term? What lights you up, etc. We'll be bringing all of that together to get really clear on your big vision for your business. And of course, I'll give you some quick wins to get the ball rolling. Okay, so already they're like, oh, I can get this ball rolling. Month two, with the clarity and direction we landed with in month one, we'll be using our second month to find your USP and blow it up. Okay, this is the start of the journey to becoming the go-to in your space, not in a big forced pushy way, but through the power of doing small things. We'll look at your visibility strategy, etc. Okay, and I keep that is like a guide for them so they get an idea of what they're signing up for. So what you're doing throughout this is you're dropping in, this is the process we use. This is what we'll be covering. Now, if I was talking about individual sessions here, I may say like something like, oh, session 3 is a really big session. So make sure you keep your evening free after, because I know you're going to want to be implementing this straight away, or you're going to want to really build in that like self-care time after this. So you're really building that excitement and that momentum. So they're like, of course, I want to invest in this. Okay. And this is what most business owners are not doing. Sending proposals is really normal everyday practice in most businesses, like in big in big like businesses that are out there in the real world. This is what they would do, especially when we're asking for our clients to part with thousands of pounds. And because not enough people do this, that's why this part of the sales strategy, the sales call strategy, really converts. And this is a big part of what took my conversions from 40% to like 85, 95, 85, 90%. Okay. Because it shows the experience that you are giving your clients from day dot. Okay, and I actually love creating these and make them like really personal to each person based on the call. All right, like this example doesn't sound too personal, but that's because I took a lot of that out for the sake of showing you this. Okay, they would then sign this off, and it would also give you a bit of a framework to work towards if this was one to one. Now, if this was the authority mastermind, I wouldn't break it up into month two, month one, two, three, because it doesn't work like that. But I would give an overview in this same way of what we'll be doing inside there. Now, the way people make decisions is driven firstly by emotion. It's that whole biopsychology again. Okay. So they want to connect with you, they want to build rapport. That's the job of the call. But as soon as they end that call, the rational, logical part of their brain kicks in. Like, can I afford this? Have I got time for this? What is so and so going to think? Should I do this? Should I wait? All of those like rational, logical thoughts kick in. Okay. So that's why we want to send this proposal within a couple of hours of the call so that they're still excited. They're still in that emotional side of the brain. Okay. And they're thinking about it, and if they've got something to read then that is answering their logic questions, like when they're thinking, is this a good way for me to do this? Is this a smart decision? Like, can I trust this person? Is this going to work for me? And also by me showing the effort and love I put into a free proposal, they're just going to think like, what would it be like when I pay her? This is just a proposal she's given to me after a free call. And that's why the majority of the time now, those calls turn into a yes. Okay. So the power proposal is a big part of the strategy. And then linked to this, the power proposal is the attachment. You are obviously need to send an email with power proposal attached. Okay. So this email very simply outlines like your conversation, it follows up with them. So the first thing you're doing is you're really getting across their goal and how this proposal is going to solve their problem. Basically, like how working with you is going to solve their problem. So, like, you know, as promised, I've attached this personalized proposal. It outlines how I can support you to bring more confidence, momentum, and strategy so that consistent 5K months are not just the goal, they're your norm. Okay. So you're really getting across that solution and how you're going to solve the problem. If they're new to your world, okay, you want to maybe add some more of your credentials or how you work, another opportunity to connect and get your authority across. So, just to give you a little bit about how I work, I'm not just your coach, I'm your strategic partner. My job is to help you become the go-to in your space, etc. Whether we're mapping out your next offer or creating bold content that positions you as the authority, you won't be doing it alone. Okay. So again, it's that personal touch, but what answers that why you. And then you simply outline the package with the price. So that comes in the email. Okay. So the proposal is like the excitement, and this email is part of the logic part. So you just briefly detail it. If you have bonuses, put your bonuses like and remind what they're worth. I've missed out the price here. I might have deleted it when I put it onto here, but put the price in. Okay. Put any bonuses so they can you're stacking the value. And then this has been revolutionary for my business. Add an extra timed bonus. Okay, because this acts as really great time urgency. And this comes from Alex Hormozi's principles of how to make every offer like the easiest yes ever. So if you decide to join within the next 48 hours, I've done 28, 24 hours, I've done 72. Just depends on when the call is and what you know about this person. You'll also unlock, now for this case, I put 2 additional 60-minute one-to-one calls, £500 off the investment. Okay. So what you're doing here is And I change this based on the client. I change this based on what they want and based on what offer they're going to be signing up to. Because what you want to do here is you're not just plonking, oh, a 45-minute call to just make it look like these have to be no-brainers. Like, well, why would I wait and maybe think about it a bit longer until next week when if I sign up in 48 hours, I get it cheaper and I get extra calls, which are like, I know are going to be so valuable. So that's why you do an absolute no-brainer. And it's going to depend on your offer, on your client. Okay. So we want to make sure we've got that email that goes with it. So that is my explore call strategy. Now, if you implement this, it is going to drastically improve your conversion rate because, like I said, people don't do all of this. People just jump on a call and expect their potential client to say yes. Okay. But those people are parting with thousands. Think about what it's like when you're parting with thousands. You've got lots of questions. You've got the emotional part. You've got the rational part. You want those like handled, but not in it doesn't have to be in an obvious way. But if someone can't be bothered to like maybe pull a proposal together or send a personalized email, which really starts the client experience off on like a 10 out of 10, then that's good for you based on those people who can't be bothered to do that, because then you're going to mop up all their business. Okay. So always go the extra mile, make it personalized, and you will enjoy this process. And it's a bloody great strategy for you to implement in your business, whatever your business is, because this works. Okay. Enjoy, and I will see you on the next.